Hello crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Kato and I am so happy to be back with another video. Today I am showing you two card ideas with the Floral Mini Tiles die set from Spellbinders. This was the Small Die of the Month club from February, I think, and I just got around to making a couple of cards with it. Actually, I just got around to making a video. I made these cards right when I got this die set in the mail. Now there are 5 or 4 different tiles you can make with this die set. All of them include gorgeous flowers from Spellbinders, and I am just going to put a couple of them together now. For this first card, I need a bunch of tiles, and I wasn't quite sure how many, so I die cut a ton at once, and I put them all together at once except for these two, which I filmed. So I am using a jewel picker here. This is an embellishment one from Pinkfresh Studio, and yeah, it's just a great embellishment wand. And I am going to adhere all of these flowers on top of those tiles there. For the most part, this is all pretty self-explanatory, and all of the examples of the tiles and how they should be put together are right on the back of the packaging of this Die of the Month club. The packaging of Spellbinders is really great. All the dies these days come on plastic sheets, so you don't rip the paper packaging apart. And I really love that tiny detail in the packaging. Now for these flowers, I am going to add a little bit of a curve to them, and I do that just by pressing the rounded tip of my gel pen cap into the flowers as they lay on a soft surface. I just used whatever was handy. You can use foam. Your Misty insert should work perfectly for this. And just pressing that domed tip of your gel pen cap into the flowers is going to give them a little bit of a curve and add some movement to those tiny flowers. All of these also come with tiny centers, and I adhered those as well. I cut those out of gold, and these are all the tiles I made for one card. Now I am going to add my sentiments first for this card because I want to add some foiling to them. And I'm using the Hello Friend sentiments. This is a hot foil set. And then there is sort of an accompanying coordinating die set for this, which works perfectly on its own, and it's the wonderful script sentiments. Now, when I laid out my sentiment just to get the spacing right, I only used the foil plates, but as you will see later on, I'm only going to foil the sub-sentiments there. So the tiny typed sentiments I am going to foil in Teal foil from Spellbinders, and that wonderful hot foil plate I just used to get the spacing right, but I am going to replace that on my card later on with a die cut wonderful. Here you can see that gorgeous teal foil. I'm very bad at using my colored foils usually, but I'm trying to use them a lot more because I have them, so they shouldn't just be taking up space on my shelf. I should actually put them on my cards sometimes. I really love this teal. It always jumps out at me. But like I said, I find it a little bit difficult to use the colored foils instead of the metallic ones. Now, I do want to mention that Spellbinders is having a clearance, what did they call it? It's a spring clearance. It's a huge sale. They have $1 deals. They just have amazing discounts on a lot of products. So I will leave a link to all of the products on sale right now at the top of the supply list or even above the supply list. And I did make sure before I posted this video that all of the products I am using today are in stock at Spellbinders. Not all of them are on sale or available at a discount, but they're all in stock. So if you see something that you like, you can grab that along with some deals as well. While my hot foil glimmer machine was heating up, I put that die cut together. I just layered 2 layers of white cardstock together for extra dimension and put a gold glitter cardstock on top. Once that is foiled, those sub-sentiments at least, I can adhere this down onto a top folding white note card. You can see I used some cream cardstock for this. I thought that looked great along with those muted colors I used on the tiles and that blue. It worked perfectly. I am going to use the grid of my grid mat to line up all of those tiles, and I really just need to count the grid for that their top row of tiles, and then I can fit everything in place underneath it. Now I'm lining everything up and I'm not adhering it down just yet. I am using press and seal to pick everything up at once because I do want to be fiddly with this card, and I want to add foam squares behind, or tiny pieces of foam tape behind those tiles to prop them up a little bit. Now you can see I ripped that press and seal completely off the card, and I didn't mean to do that. So I am going to press it in place once again once it's all lined up the way I want it to. And I'm going to make sure that it's pressed nicely onto my card itself. And I can use that as a hinge later on. Now I am first going to trim off all of those pieces. It's going to be easier to trim it off before you add dimension to them. It's just going to make your life a little bit easier because these tiles are quite stacked. They are already layered on top of white cardstock as well for extra dimension. So it was quite difficult to get through with my scissors, but luckily these gigantic shears from Tim Holtz do the job perfectly. I didn't want you all to sit through the pain of me adding foam tape to all of those tiny pieces. So I skipped ahead of that and they're now adhered down. I did fill in all those spaces along the edge as well before I'm adhering my sentiment down. So this card is pretty easy. There's not a lot of difficult techniques going on. It's just a lot of fiddling. And because I put so many tiles together, I do have some left over. So I didn't want those to go to waste because I spent time on those. So I'm adding 3 on the inside of my card just as a fun touch. And I am saving 1 that's left over as well. And I'm going to use that later on to seal my envelope kind of. So here you can see the finished card before we move on to the second project that I made with this die set. For this card, I only needed to put 6 tiles together, and while I'm doing that, I did want to mention that while this is still available, this small die of the month of February, you can still purchase it. It's a lot more expensive now than it was when you were subscribed to the kit. So if you subscribe to the kits, they're a lot cheaper. I will also leave a link down below where you can subscribe to the Small Die of the Month Club. I think it's great value for what you get. I think in dollar amounts, it's $18. And if you buy it from the UK website, it's £15. But now this die set is selling for, I think, $32. I didn't check on the UK website actually, but that's almost twice as expensive. And it is worth that amount. I do want to stress. I think this is a great die set. I had a lot of fun with this, and I can see many projects in my future with this die set. But I do think if you are interested in the small die kit of the month, it's a great subscription to get. It's the cheapest one on the Spellbinders website, I think, and I always have so much fun with these die club kits. Now, this is the scrolled punch and pierce plate. It's a fun background plate that I'm going to use, and I am going to foil another Glimmer sentiment on there, and these are the longer ones. I actually have 2 Glimmer sets on this magnetic sheet. These are the inside card Glimmer sentiments, and they are actually meant to go on the inside of your card because they are quite a bit longer than your usual sentiment. One is actually a paragraph long, I think, but they're really fun sentiments. I think they're very personal, and I love to add a touch of Glimmer to the inside of my card as well. But this one just fit really nicely in between that frame from the scrolled punch and pierce plate, which I'm ink blending right now just to add a little bit of depth to it as well. And I really like a longer sentiment sometimes because there's not a ton going on in this card. I have 6 tiles that I'm going to arrange on this, and there's a really subtle piercing a plate on top of it, or a frame more on top of it. So it's more tone on tone background, and I thought a longer sentiment would break it up a little bit, especially because it's foiled in gold on there. Now this Pierce and Punch plate, or Punch and Pierce plate, I keep switching it up, is a little bit tricky to glue down because there are so many tiny holes in it, but it is worth it, I promise. It's so beautiful and dainty. It die cuts beautifully as well. I've never had a problem with it. I've used it a couple times now, and I just love it. It also cuts 2 frames, or 1 frame and a little piece on the inside as well that you can use separately. I love those 2. I just took those out because I wanted to frame today. Now, to line these tiles up, I'm going to put 3 above the sentiment and 3 below in exactly the same formation. I am only lining up 1 set of these on my grid mat and then picking it up again with press and seal before adding foam tape behind it and propping it up a little bit above that sentiment. And the great thing about having a symmetrical design on this is that I can just put my leftover tiles right on top, the ones that are already adhered down, and pick them up again with press and seal. So I don't have to align them again. I can just use the tiles that are already in place as a guide. Then I can simply add more foam tape to those. I am again going to cut that out. The little dot you saw me add there is just white gel pen, and it's just going to make sure I adhere this down right in the center. It's going to line up with that point on the diamond tile. And that's really it. I'm not going to add embellishments to any of these. There is a little bit of gold paper in the tiles, some gold foiling as well. There's quite a bit of shimmer on these already, and I just wanted to let all of that die cutting shine because I spent quite a bit of time on it. And here you can see what I'm going to do with that leftover tile. I'm going to adhere this down when I'm ready to send it on the flap of my envelope like it's some sort of wax seal, which I thought was a really fun touch. So if you have one of those tiles left over, don't throw them out if you've already assembled it. Use it on your envelope or on the inside of your card. They're it's quite a process to die cut all of the pieces and then putting them together. I think it's very relaxing, but you shouldn't let your time go to waste, and you should definitely not throw it in the bin. I hope you like these cards. I had a ton of fun creating them with this Die of the Month club. Again, I highly encourage you to subscribe to this small Die of the Month. It's great value for what you get. I have always enjoyed the kits that I've gotten since I've subscribed at the start of the year, and I can't wait to see what's next for the coming months as well. The clearance sale ends on April 28th, and I will give you another video soon with my all-time favorite Spellbinders die set to give you some inspiration as well, and maybe you can grab that on sale too. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see my next one as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.